3% below the break point, and then 0.5% for the difference above the break point in your salary.
Yeah, add the 1.33 plus the half, and you get what I said,
Oh, I see.
1.8333. Yeah. Okay, back there.
What is the maximum compensation when it comes to calculating the buyout tax? Is it everything that you earn in the year, not just your salary?
Okay, so yeah, how do they do the buyout calculation? Ultimately, when you get your pension, they average out your 3 best years of service. That's what ultimately happens to know what your benefit will be when you retire. The buyout percentage is a proxy to try to guess, the actuaries use to try to guess what your final average earnings will be. That proxy requires you to choose your single highest year of service. And it would include all pensionable earnings with a caveat that if there is something anomalous about that year of service, the state and the coalition have agreed that there should be an adjustment. So what is anomalous? Okay, anomalous means something that would make it totally unfair to use that highest year as a reasonable predictor of what your final average earnings will be. Some things that we know are not anomalous, summer school. You teach courses in the summer, that's not anomalous because nobody can control when you teach courses in summer. You might easily teach them in your final average years. So simply teaching courses in the summer is not anomalous. What was agreed to as an example of something anomalous, okay? I am a full professor, and the president of Southern leaves, and I'm asked to be acting president, okay? Obviously, they think I'm not skilled enough to remain a professor, and the best they can do is make me president. I should, but too easy. At any rate, I get a big raise, right? But I'm acting president. I get a big raise for that 8 months until they finish their search and bring in whoever the heck they bring in. That's an example of something that's clearly anomalous, just not fair to use that as a predictor of what my final average earnings will be, unless I'm about to retire, in which case it would be factored in. But if I'm, 5 years away from retirement, you shouldn't use that year at all. So if you are in that circumstance, if you think your highest year is anomalous, what you do is you get that information to Steve Greatorex. It comes to me, and then it is reviewed by Lydia Almini on the Office of Labor Relations. And if we agree to drop that last year, then it's dropped. Whatever year you think is unfair, it's dropped. If we don't agree, you'll be notified. You'll have a chance to submit additional information, etc. Does that make sense to everybody?
One more question.
Sure.
Let's assume that if there are 2 beneficiaries, you have 2 beneficiaries.
2 beneficiaries. Okay.
And you retire, then you die. You die, so they start collecting the benefits that they have. Now, if one of those beneficiaries dies, then his share will go to the other beneficiary, or
The question would be, if you're talking about under the hybrid plan, the question would be, what selection do you make when you retire? If you select the defined benefit option, then you're given a choice when you select your defined benefit option. Do you want to purchase a spousal option or not? And the spouse doesn't have to, they call it a spousal option, but you don't have to actually be married to the person. So spousal is kind of misnamed, but it's one person, and your pension is then actuarially adjusted based upon the difference in your age. Okay, if you pick someone, you only have one beneficiary directly as your spousal option. Okay, but if you choose the defined contribution aspect and you take a load of cash, you can have a series of contingent beneficiaries, and that just whether they get money or not depends on who dies first.
and if that beneficiary dies, then the whole thing is going to evaporate.
Yeah, on the defined benefit aspect, remember, here's what the defined benefit aspect works like this. In effect, you're gambling when you leave on how long you're going to live. If you knew when you retired, and you can make the decision whether to retire or not, okay, and you knew you were going to get hit by a comet a week later, well, you're not going to say, okay, give me the defined benefit, it's really nice, I get $1,200 a month for the rest of my life. Well, you're going to be dead in a week. So obviously you would choose, if you knew that, you would take the defined contribution aspect. If you knew you're 62 years old when you retire and you know you're going to die at 104, I don't care how much cash they're going to give you. Say, give me the defined benefit plan, because it's going to be gone sooner or later before I hit 104. So the idea of a defined benefit plan is you're covered no matter how long you live. You're not rich, you're not poor. You get a decent standard of living no matter how long you live. Okay, so that's So if you've chosen that, and you happen to be unlucky and die in 3 years, and then your beneficiary dies 4 years later, you might have not. It might have turned out that you would have done better if you took your lump sum. But on the other hand, do you want to be betting against your long life? That's the real problem, right? You get a certain amount of cash. It can be enough for you to live like a king if you know you're going to be dead in 8 months, and it can be enough for you to live like a pauper if you know you're going to live for 35 years. And most people don't know. Yeah, with her.
Getting back to the SAG award, if it took the IRS 3 or 4 more years to decide, you decided you wanted to retire in the meantime, you have to make a choice between hybrid or AOP.
We believe you do. That is, we don't think the IRS would let you choose the hybrid now and then later choose the SAG award. If you stayed with ARP, you might later be able to choose the SAG award. But if you choose the hybrid now, we don't think they would later let you switch. However, that's not as much of a problem as it sounds, because remember, what's the only detriment of the hybrid as compared to the SAG award? There's only one downside.
You're not retirement.
It's only for active employees having to pay 3% more per year.
Right.
So if you're retiring next month, don't wait for the SAG award. I mean, you should choose the ARP or you should choose the hybrid, but no reason to wait for the SAG award because it's the same benefits as the hybrid. Does that make sense?
But if you're in the ARP, why would you choose, say, the hybrid? If you didn't know whether the IRS was going to allow you to buy the past service.
Well, again, let's think of it as two categories of employee. Okay, so I've got past service, and I'm trying to decide between the hybrid and the SAG award. I've already decided I don't want to stay in ARP. I want the defined benefit aspect. Okay, and I'm trying to decide whether to wait. If I'm going to retire in the very near future, there's no reason to wait. Just choose the hybrid, because, like I said, the only downside is that 3% more you're paying per year, but you're not paying it because you're retired. So no reason to wait if I'm going to retire. If I plan to be here a while longer, I may just, and I'm absolutely certain that I want a defined benefit plan. So I want to hedge my bets with a hybrid. I know I want a defined benefit plan. Under those circumstances, I may decide to wait. Now, what does time do to me? What is my waiting until the SAG award is issued do to me? Well, one thing is whatever happens to your money in the ARP account, of course, affects how much you can buy. So you can be conservative and keep it in a stable value fund, and you know that if the IRS rules in 3 years, you're going to have that amount of money plus an obnoxiously small amount of interest. Okay, or you can be as risky as you want. That's up to you. The other thing you know is you'll be older when 2 years from now you're going to be 2 years older. In general, that lowers the purchase cost. In general, okay, it's not. It lowers the purchase cost for everybody who is essentially already retirement eligible. The longer you wait, the cheaper it is to buy your past service, because the actuaries charmingly assume that the older you are, the sooner you're going to die. I mean, just put it really bluntly, that's what they assume, right? So that's not true of people who are younger than normal retirement age, because the actuaries will assume then that they're actually more likely to retire sooner because they're closer to their normal retirement age, and they're not going to be one of those people unlucky enough to get hit by a comet before they retire. So you can look at yourself and see which of those categories you're in. But if you are in the category, the other way to do it is to cheat up when you do your hybrid calculator. Just effectively lie about your age and your years of service, because obviously 2 years from now you're going to be 2 years older with 2 more years of service, and then compare the two, and you'll see what it does to your purchase cost.
Quick comment about the SAG.
Yes.
If for some reason I were